So again, like I said, we're starting from the center and working our way out, which is really common with a lot of RC builds. Hi guys, Brett here from Hearns Hobbies, and I'm joined by Matthew Jenkins here. He's our 1/10th Onroad crew chief down here in Victoria, and we're building a BD11. This is episode 2. So episode 1 we did the spool, the center pulley, spur gear arrangement,
the diff gear,
and the diff gear.
Yep, sure did.
Now we're up to episode 2 and we'll start moving on to the chassis and the bulkheads.
Yep.
So thank you for joining me again, Matt.
No problem.
Yeah, and now we get to start working on this beautiful matte chassis.
Yep. Okay. The matte chassis.
Matte chassis, that's right.
Yep. The matte chassis.
Matte chassis for Noah.
That's right. So I guess remembering this is going to be a 21.5 car.
21.5
build. So specifically when we built the other parts, they were built for 21.5 in mind.
Yes.
So onto the chassis. So we've got a beautiful new looking chassis which we discussed in the unboxing.
Yep.
So new material, new different finish. I don't think it's for me, but it's certainly matte.
Yep.
So
oh, you don't like the matte finish so much, you like the gloss?
no, just as far as the name.
Oh
namesake.
no. Well, you could be shiny if you like.
But certainly very, very well made, very nicely machined, and yeah, it's a departure from shiny carbon. That's for
It
sure.
is, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's nice. It's nice.
On trend.
Yeah.
Before they even know it.
So
And we've got our shiny setup board here.
yes. So first thing I like to do is always make sure the chassis is actually flat before we start.
Yeah. And I think you'll find, that it is very flat.
So another way to just check is that you've got the same sounds coming from the chassis.
Yep.
Just to make sure what it might sound like if it's not exactly flat is you'll have a different sound from one corner to another. See that?
Yeah.
That sort of sound, whereas on a flat surface it's a much stronger.
It's a much more thud,
Yep. So
if you will. That's a technical term.
yeah, obviously, but yeah, obviously making sure the chassis is flat is really quite an important step.
Well, it's like building a house. I mean, it's the fundamentals to the footing,
that's
isn't
your
it?
foundation.
If
That's right.
if the chassis is not straight and the bulkheads don't go on straight, then the whole car is going to be out of whack or out of tweak.
Yeah, and look, you can compensate, but in a new build you shouldn't have to. Right?
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Usually after I've driven it once or twice, yeah, for sure.
Yep.
But,
Yep. Or you're driving.
yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't crash.
No,
Of course. I don't have a box of spare parts at all. They're not needed. So yeah, obviously we've got our beautiful new chassis here.
Yep.
Now there is a step in the instructions where it suggests you glue the edges of your chassis.
Yeah, I can zoom in here on the instructions. Yep.
Okay, so
See the side profile here of the chassis.
now this is where I guess there's different opinions on whether you should or you shouldn't glue the edge of the chassis.
Opinions and techniques.
Yeah, so I'm the sort of person, I don't like to glue the edge of the chassis for no other reason other than look, it's quite easy to have glue run across the chassis and it's difficult clean up. You know, it might change the way your bulkhead may sit on the chassis and those sorts of things if you don't clean it up fast enough. But also Bendigo, where we do race, it's a very, very high wear, bumpy track. Any edges that you do glue down, I guess it's sacrificed the first time you race. So
Yep.
I don't see there's a lot of point for Noah's car
Yep.
to have that step done for us in this
Yep.
particular forum. So we'll get into putting some bulkheads on.
Whereas I myself, I like tight. I like the chassis to last as many laps as it can. I will typically glue my on-road chassis. I will not glue the whole thing though. I would glue from the front droop screw around and to the rear droop screw around.
Yep.
And that's as far as I would glue. And like I said, and that's really just in the vain hope that I can in fact
Get it to last longer.
get it to last a little bit longer.
Yep.
All right, that's definitely not a performance thing.
No.
I don't think I would notice driving of my capability, but yeah, let's go. So we've got some beautifully machined bulkheads.
All right, so the bulkheads are all new design for the BD11. So front and rear bulkheads. So you've got the front bulkheads there.
I've got front ones.
And these are the rear bulkheads. So the rear bulkheads are distinctly different.
Yes.
Because
What's this extra feature here?
yeah, so this is for the pivot pin for the top deck.
Yes.
So the top deck now offers a flex characteristic, so that you can adjust the flex in the car just by using a a different shore hardness O-ring, or you can buy an option kit to actually lock it out. So there is another option kit that you can buy to actually lock the top deck out to have it more rigid, like the previous BD10.
Yeah, and I have heard, like I said, the car's only in Australia. It's only been on track a couple times, but there is people exploring these opportunities of tuning, and they've had great results in that they can feel exactly what it's doing.
That's right.
So whether it's faster or not is to be said, but at least when they're making these small adjustments, they can feel a difference.
That's right. And look, I think some time under the belt with the car will tell us which way most of our tracks will go.
Absolutely.
I personally, after driving this car for the first time in Bendigo, I really do like the characteristic.
Yep.
I think the car feels really planted. Our track's particularly bumpy as a home track. We are rectifying that, of course, as a club, but certainly we're running ride heights of in modified up to 6.8 mil rear and 6.5 front, 6.6 front. So that's which really sounds, on the
which sounds ridiculous to a lot of people, and realistically, it was probably not where the geometry of the car was designed for.
No,
it would have been designed for a dead smooth, high grip track. And the fact that it works at all on that and at those ride heights is fantastic.
Yeah. So we do a couple of little things to actually get to that ride height and maintain droop. But for 21.5, we can use a 5mm droop. You don't get as much compression under acceleration.
Yeah.
And
you just physically wouldn't be able to make the car that hard to absorb it. We wouldn't be able to get around the track.
That's right. And because we've got a high-speed sweeper at the end of our straight, you do carry a lot of speed in modified around that sweeper. So in 21.5, yes, you can keep it mashed all the way around, but you're not carrying as much speed and not providing as much load. So
no, definitely not.
So this is a kit build. We'll get around it really well in 21.5.
Fantastic. All right, so let's get on with getting the bulkheads on. Now this is where you're going to start yelling at me for screws, isn't it?
Screws, please, sir.
All right, so let me go to my little chart here. We need bag number 1. Now, here we go. And this is a bit of a drawback of this, I suppose, is getting every bag at a time. So for this step, I need 8 of these. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. That one. We have got screw number 2, and I need 4 of these. These are the 8mm ones. I am loving this blue mat, by the way. Everything's about the mats today.
There's a lot of mat, isn't there?
If it's not matte carbon, it's bloody blue mats. How good is it? 2, 4.
Now, do you have a particular way you like to put bulkheads on, Brett?
Yeah, I actually leave them loose until a later step, until the diffs are actually in and the spool's in. Yeah, I don't know. There's like there's bulkhead alignment tools and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's lots of ways, I suppose, to do it.
All right, and remembering when you're putting the bulkheads on, there's white markers here that actually help us with our diff height setting and obviously belt tension so that we can get them even on each side. So make sure the white marks are on the outside of the build. And there's also a recess in the bulkhead that takes the diff eccentric as well. So putting them on backwards would have a bit of a detrimental effect to the build.
Oh, would it ever? And it's, like I said, it's beautifully machined, this stuff. Really precise. And that's really where you can tell the difference of the quality build. You know, in that everything just lines up and fits.
Yep.
All the markings are square.
So we don't tighten these up just yet. Just get the bulkheads on. In facing the right direction, of course.
That's actually the main reason I've got that setup board here, actually, so we can get to tighten up though. I don't like to tighten up on a pit mat so much. You want to do it on a setup board or a piece of glass. Alright, so over here we've got 6mm screws, 8mm screws, 15 and 18. What are we going to be needing? You're going to be needing a 2mm drive. You've got that over there.
Using that at the moment.
And I'll sit here and provide a bit of comedy relief as I struggle with
bit of encouragement
today. That's right. Well, that is the thing. And what a pleasure it is taking the build with you. Matt's doing this of his own time. It's really appreciative. And yeah, I bet Noah's looking forward to having a new car.
Well, Noah doesn't know yet.
Oh!
Noah doesn't know
yet.
Well,
I'm sure that the car will be ready before this goes viral and breaks the internet.
I'd say so. He does watch it.
He does watch it?
He does laugh a lot at that on the
Does he?
That's
what it's all about, mate. Well, as long as we're bringing a bit of laughs and entertainment to the world.
A bit of lightheartedness.
That's right. That's right.
All right, now probably the battery holder, is it?
The battery holder we can put on.
This is actually a really cool feature that's come across from I think it's from the BD10. I don't know if it was on the BD9, but the clip feature of this, just a simple ease of use.
Simple.
Yeah,
isn't it?
It's really cool.
Really good.
Yep.
You don't have to tighten it every time. Do you want some nippers over there, mate?
Sure.
Yeah, no, it is. It's quite a simplistic feature. It's probably not the most bling part about the car.
No, but you can get a carbon upgrade.
You can, and as utilitarian it goes, like, it just functions fantastic.
So I'll save carbon upgrades for birthdays and those sorts of
stuff
things
like that. Yeah,
get some mileage out of them.
That's right.
And that usually satisfies Noah. He likes a bit of bling here and there.
Don't we all?
Yes.
Hey?
Alright, we might just clean some of that up in a moment.
What have we got here? What can I do for you? Where's my little... I'll run this over here. I've got my hobby knife. We can... I might come out a bit on the camera so we can get a bit more... While I come out, like so.
And with these battery holders, you do have to remember, I guess, the height of the battery that you're using as to how you might build this part.
Yeah.
You can adjust it easily enough later on, but if you take the step to actually know what sort of height battery you're running, that does help.
Yeah.
Just,
what are you after?
Hobby knife, please, sir. Thank you.
I'm not used to being asked for things so nice.
Oh.
I didn't know you were talking to me then.
Oh. I suppose you have had other people on the show that aren't quite as polite.
No, definitely polite, but definitely polite. Different demeanour, definitely.
All polite.
That's right. What have we got here? Oh, we're doing a bit more here.
Yep.
Got my 9-step sanding blocks out in action again. These are not only good for doing your battery mount system, but also your nails.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, really good.
You do that on the way to work every morning, do you?
I try on the train. People look at me funny, but that's alright.
Your emery board?
Yeah. The 9 steps t-shirt on and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's,
right.
What do we got there?
So that they think you can only take 9 steps?
I don't know.
Okay. All right, I think we're good for the next step.
All right. So
what have we got?
let's have a look. Battery holder.
So in most cases, so we'll turn this around so that it represents what's on the instructions there. So you've got an option here. You can run the battery forward, or you can run the battery backward. Not backward, but back. Sorry.
Yep.
We tend to run the battery forward. So I'm not sure if that's going to be the habit of the coming forwards with the new car.
Yep.
But the previous cars we ran the battery forward. So we'll put that together in the same.
And when you put your car on the scales, obviously because you've built one of these for racing.
Yep.
How did it weigh up?
50-50.
Did it?
Yep. On the knocker.
Really?
Yep.
And that's how you prefer to have your cars?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay.
But it's funny because the weight bias that I've got at 50-50, that's still with the rake at 6.8 and 6.5 heights front to rear. So it's a 0.3mm difference front to rear that I'm running. But yeah, that still offers a 50-50 weight bias. The way I build them anyway.
Yep. And that's what you're looking for in
Correct.
the build?
Yep. For modified, yes.
Yep.
Yep. What do you want, 2mm?
2mm. We'll get it started. Sometimes with some of these steps you can need more than it feels. Sometimes you could always do it a third hand. Get these ones on. It's even got an F on it for front. I didn't realise that.
Yep. Yep.
And that's I'm tipping it's got an R on it for rear.
Sure does.
And you can tell that they're high quality plastics by the way that the threads actually do up.
Yeah, so that's it's not a coarse cut thread, so it's a really fine, what they call a fine cut thread, and that is actually quite hard to engineer into plastics compared to a coarse cut thread.
Yep.
And the fact that it pulls up so nicely using a fine cut thread is really cool. That's a really good quality shine.
And you actually really don't need to apply an awful lot of torque.
No.
Like these cars do not rattle loose, do they?
No, definitely not.
Because of the quality of the fastener and the engineering in the plastic.
Correct. So again, at this stage you might want to consider what type of battery you're using. If you're using an LCG battery, they're compressed and they're very small. So you've got the option for the height adjustment.
Different height adjustment?
Here. So that's what these little height adjusters are for.
Yep.
So for this build, we'll just put them in.
It's easy just to take them out later, isn't it?
That's right. And I don't lose them on the way home.
Do you run low centre of gravity batteries in your
Yes.
ULCGs in your mod?
Yep.
So you use a smaller capacity battery?
Yeah, I'm using 5.4, 5400s.
5400s?
Yep.
Sure it is.
No. 5600s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was thinking of off-road, sorry.
Yeah, that's alright.
Too many cars.
That's not a bad problem to have. So,
No.
starting with the small spacer, then the large spacer.
So if you're not using the spacer, you use the shorter screw. So they give you the 2 screw options.
Yep.
So if you're not using the spacer, you use the shorter screw. I'll just put them aside for now.
And this is the sort of stuff that you do, like towards the end anyway, final fitting, you can just make small adjustments here.
That's right.
There's no need to tighten and secure everything right down now to the right torques. Starting to look like a touring car.
Sure is.
That is a long thread, and I wonder that's actually where it gets all the strength from when tipping, that big long screw.
Yeah, and I guess you're holding a battery a long way away from the chassis, so it's important that you do have enough mechanical strength in it.
Look at that.
So
Battery retaining system.
Yeah, very, very cool, very easy. Noah can actually do this on his own. So yeah, you don't need a lot of strength to, but I've never had it come undone.
Or any tools.
Or any
No,
tools.
even in an accident or something.
That's right, never had it come undone.
They don't come out, your battery does not fall out of this car.
That's right. So our next step now is motor mount.
Step number 6.
Yeah, motor mount, belt, and adding, I guess, the parts we had in the first episode, which was the
Driveline.
Okay.
Yep.
So first step here is to, all right, so as I said, we're building a 21.5 car.
Yep.
We've got the optional grey belts or white belts.
Yep.
Some people refer to them in grey or white. So this is an option pack. We'll be fitting this.
Do you know why I love them? I just love the colour.
The colour.
I'll put them even on a mod car.
Yeah, right.
You
The
know,
contrast is cool.
I don't care that they don't last as long. I think
Yep.
they just look cool.
The contrast is cool.
And the modern belts are actually really, really good.
Yep.
We used to have dramas a long time ago with belts, but they actually, like, for the amount of punishment and pure horsepower that we're putting through these cars now, they actually last a really long time.
Correct.
And
Right.
probably because we're not so concerned. We used to run them quite loose because we were really concerned about drag and run time.
Yeah. Yep.
Whereas now it's not
Not an issue.
an issue at all.
No. So, just looking through the build, if you want to
Yep.
orientate the car, if it helps you, the same way as the picture is in the instructions, it can help you with the orientation of the materials. So, we've got our motor mount
Yep.
that sits here. So obviously there's a cutout in the chassis that the spur would normally drop through.
Yep.
In this particular case, for a 21.5 car, it won't.
Probably not going to stick through.
No, it's not. So we'll get the some more screws. So
Oh, what screws about? I've dropped the ball there.
yeah,
So we need some number 1 screws. Here we go. Number 1. I need 2 of them. Feel free to heckle and abuse me as we go, mate. That's fine.
Sure.
I'll often drop the ball there. Screws.
all right.
Uh,
Now there's this step. There's some
BH
really
35.
small parts. You do have to be very careful. There's some small springs and hardened balls for holding the diff in place. So
it's
this,
one of my least favourite steps
yeah,
of these cars.
yeah, there's a little bit of balance involved.
Do you use a little bit of grease to hold them in?
Yes, I do. Yep. So important first step is to actually get this assembly together before the motor mount actually goes on the chassis. So we've got a little fan holder there. That's a little fan holder. Probably really quite important for the 21.5 and 13.5 classes.
I dare say that it will be. These cars we run pretty hard, don't we?
Yes.
Alright.
So we want this guy here in 3x5.
Button head.
Yep.
That one.
So important to shim this in the right order. you can see there's 2 shims in front of the bearing and 1 behind it. And this is actually the belt tensioner.
Oh, they use a little belt tensioner on these.
Yes.
Am I right in thinking that there's an optional belt tensioner? Or
Yeah, there is.
Front and
Front
rear?
and rear, yes.
Do you run them in mod?
No.
No?
I don't. Depends, I guess, on how you want your diffs, the height of your diff set.
Yep.
I run high diffs in all the applications that we race, and I tend to find that I get enough purchase on the tensioning that way.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never really had any dramas with belt skipping.
Is the high diffs because of the high...
Looking for more traction. So
Yep.
high diffs are for low traction.
Yep.
A low traction setting, that's right.
Yep.
Or lower traction setting. And what have we got there? The
What have we got here? Fan
M3
mount?
by 6, M3 by 6.
M3 by 6. This one?
Yep. You might actually put, because you're putting a screw through aluminium, you might actually just put a little bit of Loctite on that.
Yep. Will you do that at final fitting though when the fan's on, or not? You just do it now?
I'll do it now.
Alright, go for
I'll
it.
do it now, because you can, 2 screws and the motor mount can come out quite easily.
Okay.
But everyone's different.
Yep.
You can fit the mount, the fan at this point if you wanted to.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't go as far as to do that myself. There's a good chance I would stick my finger through it, or a 2mm driver or something.
Yep. This is the reason someone else is helping you with this build.
That's right. That's right.
Get rid of that little bit of recklessness. So at this point, you can actually put the spur on.
Yep.
Okay, so we can grab the pulley assembly. Oops.
Yep.
Now, it's really very simple. The large bearing face goes to the back.
Yep.
So you've got the large bearing face there. Goes to the back. But there's a step there that we've missed. We've got to put the belt on.
Got to put the belt on first.
The rear belt.
Which way do you like the riding to face? The battery side or the other
I'll
side?
let you decide.
All right, we'll go the other side. You got to time the belts, mate.
Yep.
If you're a tooth out, the timing's all wrong. And you end up putting a valve through the piston if you're not careful.
Yeah, I prefer straight cut timing gears myself.
Is it? Is that what they're doing at your car at the moment? Is it?
That's right.
You need another M6.
M6.
There we go.
Starting to look like it should.
It's a brand new tool.
I was going to say it's a brand new tip.
I've set you up for a bit of failure there.
Yeah, that's okay.
These 9-step tools are super precise.
We'll manage through it.
How good do they feel? These tools.
Actually, you
Really
can get really
nice
good
and
grip.
early.
Yeah.
You know.
So just make sure that's nice and free.
I know there's a lot of fancier tools on the market, but they're actually really good. Really good for kids. Really good grip.
Yep. And as I'm getting older, I find that the grip from those is a lot better than previous tool sets that I've
Probably
used.
because your hands are all hard and leathery too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So that doesn't help.
Must be that tan.
That's the Hamilton Island tan.
That's right.
All right. So you can set down the that assembly, and we can
Yep.
actually put the screws in the
In the
bottom,
motor mount.
In the motor mount.
Now,
Now,
what's it recommending? It's recommending 2. Is that right?
yeah.
Is that it? It's the whole motor mount.
That's correct. So
Wow.
there's some options there for flex.
Yep.
As we learn a bit more about the car, you can actually put more screws in. I probably wouldn't run less than 2.
Well, it's got no locating dowel, so that would create a problem.
That would create a problem. So
I would definitely run a lot more than 2.
yes,
So we're using the first hole behind
behind the spur.
and then we'll miss 2, and then 1 goes in.
Correct. Now, what's interesting is 1, 2. There we go. If we take a look at the front of this assembly,
Yep.
you'll notice that the front of the motor mount actually stands up.
Let's zoom right in.
So this is something, a characteristic from a lot of the touring cars now. It actually stands up off the chassis.
Yep. So look at the side profile there. Whoops. There we go. You can see
You can see the
just in here.
light gap there. So obviously if you fasten those down, you need to take up the gap.
Yep.
So a 0.5 washer in there if you're ever
Half
putting
mil washer. Yep.
putting a screw through to mount to take up those front holes there.
And that is there to allow the chassis to flex.
Correct. So this doesn't inhibit the chassis flex if you're not using the front screws.
Yeah. So they're obviously very, very rarely do they run those.
Correct. Yeah. I'd imagine in high grip situations you'd probably use something like that. So I better get the words on the
facing the right way, mate. Otherwise, Noah won't know what's going on.
You won't know which direction the car's going to go.
That's right.
Yes, you're right. So we can just sit that on there.
Like so.
It'll probably fall off, but just for the sake of the step. So you can see how that centre pulley arrangement works nicely.
Yep, we can start getting it in.
Yep.
What are we doing first, front or back?
We'll do the front.
Do the front one?
That's closest to us.
Where's your little springy thingies?
Alright, so...
That's my favourite bit.
Since it's your favourite...
Oh, here we go.
Yep.
My responsibility to lose them.
So, a bit of grease in the holes there.
Yeah, that's what I usually like to do.
So, a bit of grease on a hobby knife. These springs and balls go inside the base of the bulkheads.
Let's try and get right in here and see what we're on about for the people.
People at home.
People at home, because it is such a small... We've been in a situation, in fact, where I have had an accident and I had to change the spool in my car.
Yep.
Because I've broken the outdrive. And in my haste of pulling the car apart in a bad mood, because I'd crashed the car, I proceeded to lose all the springs and the balls out of it.
Yeah, and you can't maintain diff tension and diff position if you don't have them.
No. So, a handy little trick is go to the nearest smoker and ask them for their lighter and proceed to pull it apart.
Correct.
The tiny little spring in there that holds the flint in can actually... I'm just going to use... We're on camera, so it's a tiny little spring that goes in the recess, like so.
And you've got to make sure they bottom out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure they go in straight, make sure they bottom out. And the grease there isn't as a lubricant, it's just to get some purchase.
And make sure they just don't spring back out.
So we'll just do one end at a time because it's not something that we want to be...
There's a little trick I use for those little balls.
I was going to say, you got the grease.
A little bit of grease on a hobby knife.
Yep.
You can actually pick it up.
Because you don't want to be pinching it, because that's when it will shoot across the room.
And you can drop it there.
And the beauty in this is that you don't, when you adjust your belt tensions and stuff at the track, you really don't... I like to give them a little push, make sure that they're in.
Yep.
Make sure they haven't stuck to my finger. And there we go. You can see here, we've got those two little locators.
And what that's for is you'll see in the eccentric there's little...
Get it on the camera. Yep. Little holes.
Yep, little holes here. And that's to help with maintaining belt tension.
Well, yeah, and a perfect alignment.
Correct. Yep.
Like it's... And that's how many little steps there are.
Yep. So all the way around for either running a high diff or a low diff.
Yep.
And I think there's an option for aluminium.
Aluminium ones with greater offset.
That's right. But for now, at the moment, we'll be using the plastic ones.
Yep.
Now
I haven't had dramas with the kit items, but yeah, I think if you make lots of adjustments or your car's done lots of work, they can actually round off a little bit.
Yeah. So don't need to necessarily get the diff in exactly the right position at this point.
No, because the beauty in it is you can click it. That's why they've got those clickers there. It works like a ratchet.
That's right. So get it round about.
Get it the same orientation.
Yeah, just as a work habit. And at this point, you will, I'd suggest just drop the top of the bulkhead on.
Definitely.
Now,
let's just put this camera out again so people can see what we're up to.
Okay, so you've got front and rear bulkheads now.
Yep.
I believe in the other car they were the same.
They were the same, yep. Lower and uppers were the same.
Yep. So you can see now they've got a very different front bulkhead because you've got I guess the separation between the bulkheads and the shock tower now.
Yep.
So there's no shock tower mounting on these now. They happen lower down on the bulkhead.
Yep.
All right. So get some screws there.
What screws do we need for here? Yep, 3
by 8.
Yep, 3 by 8 button heads. They don't look like 3 by 8s. So 3x8 button heads. They must be. That's why I've got them out. But yet they don't look right.
Look a bit long, don't they? But we might be wrong.
They are definitely wrong.
Yep.
And that just comes from years of experience of putting kits together wrong.
Yep.
Knowing that
When you eyeball it. Yep.
that the screws are 2mm indifferent.
Actually, these belts do feel good, don't they? Because I've put the standard belts on
Oh,
my
did
car.
you? No, I wouldn't. I couldn't even consider it, mate. It's just because I need that. I need that touch of wow factor.
Yep.
You know, as I'm skidding along on my roof, or the car, I've snapped the complete corner off of it. You know.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, but the belts work
The
good.
belt works fine, and
Yeah.
they look fantastic.
That's right.
All right. So
Now, off-roading's a bit like that. I mean, on-roading's a bit like that, mate. You know that.
yes.
You've got to bring your A game on the track, in the pits. You know.
Yep.
Got to have your macchiato. Ricky Bobby with his macchiato.
Macchiato.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
and some macaroons.
Macaroons, that's right.
Yep.
No.
Okay.
That is great fun. Guys, racing on road. Where's your favourite club to race?
Bendigo.
Is it?
Yeah, home club. Home club. And you know, it's not about necessarily just the racing, it's the atmosphere, it's the people there. I've been racing there nearly 2 years now, since
Yep.
I've started back in the hobby.
Yep.
And yeah, look, Bendigo does have a good aura, I guess, and feel when you do turn up as a new
Yeah.
person. They're very welcoming. It's not all just about the racing.
Yeah.
Of course, that's why we're there. But there's good camaraderie there, really good communication. And it's a growing club with, I guess, a greater purpose in mind than just to satisfy
The egos of
the
grown
egos.
men.
Yeah,
playing
that's
with toy
right.
cars.
Yep, that's right. And it's an important thing, actually. You know, we're harnessing the growing community, bringing kids back into it in a big way. So, and that's with our spec classes.
Yeah, that's right. And the spec passes are just as fun as racing these.
Yep. So I'll let you do your favourite part.
Yeah, put the spring in. I haven't lost one yet. I had sheer confidence because there's no lighter in sight. Get that ball in there, mate.
Yep. Balls are in.
Yeah, I'll leave that one alone, mate. Oh, there we go. Oh, this is playing with fire now.
Yep.
You're going to push it in with the tip of the... That will shoot it across the room quicker than you'll know. You hit the camera. The people at home
Won't know what
There we
happened.
go.
This tiny ball got this big. All right, now the diff.
Yep.
All
What's
right.
the diff? It's got 3K diff.
3K diff.
That we did last episode. It's
Yep.
got 1.5 grams of XTR's finest oil in there.
Yep, and it's a nice feeling diff, actually.
It's beautiful,
Good.
isn't it, out
Yep.
of the box?
Yep, that's right.
You
So again, you see we've marked the eccentrics just so we know the.
Yep.
Get that. Just so you can see.
Yeah, a couple of dots there
Couple
so you
dots
can
there.
see the indexes.
Yep.
And when we get the bulkheads on, we can explain how we adjust it, I suppose.
Yeah. So,
I generally don't like to do final belt tension until the car's assembled and
No.
the top deck's on, but
I think we need 2 more screws actually.
2 more?
So
Yep. It's probably just me just not putting the right screws in. 6. What do we need?
M3x8, I think it was.
M3x8. Bag 7. Here we are. Bag 7. Bag 7.
So these, the top bulkhead screws, I'm not doing up tight at this stage because we'll do some belt adjustment.
Yep. I'm going to explain how the eccentrics work, and
Yep.
also you can see the laser etched lines.
Yes.
And then if you want to change your belt tension during the race, and it's really quick, you just back off them like 2 screws.
That's right.
The 4
The
screws,
4
back
screws.
them off 2 turns.
Yep.
And then just go one click, and then do them back up.
That's right.
Put it on your setup station, usually with the wheels off.
So at this point you'll notice, if you've built Yokomo cars before, you'll notice this bulkhead arrangement now really different from the front. You can see the top deck.
Oh, can't
we
see
can't see
anything
any
at
of
the
it.
minute.
Yep, just zoomed out. Yep. Thanks, Captain.
There we go.
Alright, so yeah, you'll see here we've got the top deck screws here, which are you call traditional, I guess.
Yep.
And obviously with the rear pivot system now, the rear bulkheads are really quite different.
Yep.
Where a pin will run through the
Can you
bulkhead.
pivot that up? Nothing's going to fall apart.
No.
So I'm going to zoom back in again now. So we can see the rear bulkhead mount.
Yep.
You can see the side profile here. And this is where the top deck pivot pin will go.
That's right.
Yeah?
Yep.
It's sort of hinged, I suppose you would call it.
Yeah. Yep.
Much unlike myself, I'm
Unhinged.
unhinged, yes.
Yeah.
No
I'm glad we agreed with that.
No top deck, but slightly unhinged at best.
So I guess that's our step now, where the driveline is in a way.
Yep.
Um,
Do you do bulkheads now or not? You keep going further?
Look, we can do bulkheads now.
I don't mind.
Yep.
I don't. It's Noah's car, mate. You're the one. You are the professional here.
Right.
I'm just the nurse passing the tools.
Rightio. So, all right, well, let's tighten some bulkheads.
Yep.
So, really important here that we don't over-tighten or under-tighten. Bulkhead screws, quite an important part of the build.
Yep.
They offer the alignment, obviously, for the top deck as well. So, I like to just nip them up. Some people use a bulkhead alignment tool at this point. Before they drop the diffs in, they'd use a bulkhead alignment tool to get the gap right from front to rear. I've found these kit builds without any issue.
Yeah. I'm much the same. I like to put the diff in. That way I know the diff's going to be running true, and the top and the bottom I think is more aligned than the left and right, because
Yep.
chances are I'm going to go out and smack the first dot,
That's right.
and I'll be
All that
driving a
work.
car that's
All that hard work's undone anyway.
hard done anyway. Not that I don't disrepute the people that do it and stuff. It's like I said, it's just I don't think I get the best out of it.
Yep. And not everyone wants to go to the expense of a bulkhead alignment
Alignment
tool.
tool.
All right, so I've just nipped them up. Now just make sure that this feels nice and free.
Oh my god, look at it.
All right, and that you can't hear any or feel any friction.
Yeah. Belt's not rubbing on the guides.
That's right, and the diff's not rubbing on the side of the bulkhead. That feels, feel that? It feels
Yeah.
really good.
It feels like buttery smooth. I can hear it.
Yep. So if it's feeling good, the next step is just to nip those up really tight.
Yep. I need to give it a little bit of a little
twist.
jiggle,
Yep.
just to seat it all, and then drive it home.
Drive it home.
Now, I've seen people check their flex and twist and stuff like that, and they nearly snap their cars in half.
Yeah, look,
You
there's
know?
really no need for it.
It's even worse when you're in the pits working on your car and somebody picks it up and does
Yep.
that,
Yep.
because
Especially interesting at the moment in the pits, more recently, is because this car is designed to flex.
they want to see it.
They want to see it, and they bend it, and you're sort of sitting there, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, because on the track, obviously, that's in extreme circumstances it will, but you don't really want to be snapping your car in half like a
No,
bagel.
that's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
So when you do have a look at your chassis flex and that, you just really want to keep it to within a couple of mil.
Yep.
Because that's all that the car's designed really for operational.
That's right.
And you don't want to throw anything out of whack. Some people really grab it,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
I think it's disrespectful.
Yeah. And look, at this stage, some people say to check that the chassis is still sitting flat and so on, but without the top bulkhead on, the belts are actually going to be pulling the chassis
That's right.
in different directions. So I don't see any point checking that at this stage. You've already checked that the chassis is flat.
Yep.
Um,
What I do now at this step is just get the diffs aligned.
Yep.
More than the belt tension.
Yep.
Then that way, when I do later on, when I do adjust the belts, I can count the clicks.
Yep. Let's do that.
You know. So whether it doesn't matter if it's too tight or too loose, as long as you're in the ballpark.
That's right.
You've got the diffs at the right height, because they can go 180 degrees out. Let's come down here.
All right. So I like to, as I said, run the high diffs. So we're
Yep.
looking for maximum traction
Yep.
on a low traction surface.
So that means you have your index down the
Down
lower.
the lower. Yeah.
Yep.
So in other words, push the diffs up higher. Because what that'll do is it'll force the arms, the drive shaft down,
Yep.
and actually force the wheels into the ground. So as you said, don't worry about the tension at this stage. Just
Yep.
worry that both of the indexes are in the same position from left to right. And if we look here, they're not
Yep.
at the moment, but a little.
So you can just use your thumb pressure or something.
A little
Yep,
tweak
you can
like
see
that.
it click.
All right, and then nip up the top screws.
And again, it's not the final torque setting of
No.
these, so you don't have to
This
worry
is-
about it now.
This is just to get the car
Squared up.
squared up. That's right. Again, we'll do that for the front. You can see
Yeah, we've got high diff settings again.
Yep. Get that into the centre, and you can feel the notch.
Yep.
As you run around. Oops, one too far. There we go.
Because the other thing is, if you don't feel the notch, you can actually do it up like in between.
In between, that's right.
And then the first time you have an accident or something like that, it'll click one way or the other.
That's right. And if you don't run the pulleys square to each other, it can have a bit of an effect on the efficiency.
Well, the whole car's twisted
That's
effectively,
right.
you know. So
looks like I nipped them up a bit much. Got a bit excited.
bit excited?
Yeah.
Let's leave the
It's easy
excitement.
for me.
Leave the excitement to me, mate.
Right.
I'm the only one that's allowed to get too excited around here.
So you're the one in charge of entertainment and excitement?
I wouldn't say entertainment, but definitely I'm bringing excitement to the game.
Got you.
It's fun, people. No?
Yes.
It's got to be fun.
Yep.
If you're not having fun doing this, then you're just doing it wrong.
Rightio. There we go. So
Look at that.
Looks like our drive line's in.
And it still feels silky smooth. There's nothing like wobbling or winky wonky. You know, like if we had the diff mismatched, if it wasn't
You'd see it wobble.
lined, you'd see the pulley.
You'd see a bit of a pulley wobble, that's right.
If we didn't have our bearings or our eccentrics on,
Yep.
it would be tight. Something would be amiss.
Yep.
So
something I like to check at this point too is just to make sure, now that you've put the spool's not an issue,
Yep.
but certainly a diff, is just make sure, hold the pulley and just make sure the diff feels like it's got the same amount of force required to turn each side. And that way you'll know if there's a bulkhead squashing a bearing or pushing an eccentric in a certain way.
Yep.
So this feels really good. All right.
I suppose you could use a diff checker now.
You
if
could
got
use a
really
diff checker.
excited.
Yeah. You can
know.
use a diff checker. That's right.
All right.
So yeah, that's
That
the.
is. What step is that? Wow, we're motoring through it.
Yeah,
so that
smashing
is
it.
page number 8. Step number 6.
Oh, looks like we skipped ahead a little bit, but
We
that's
did.
okay.
We just kept going, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, well,
Oh, we can put the shock towers on.
Yeah, we can.
That's exciting.
Yep. So,
I'm excited by that.
especially the front shock tower. I guess the rear shock tower is still similar to the old one,
Yep.
but the front shock tower.
And
is
again,
certainly-
you don't fuss about and glue the shock towers and
No.
that sort of stuff.
No, I don't. No. Each to their own.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to sit there and spend time to glue the towers.
Yeah. Well, again, for me, it's just a sheer reliability thing.
Yep.
And I know that there's a very good chance I will do my very best to shear them clean in half.
Right.
So.
I'm relying on Noah to drive a bit cleaner than you, Ian. Obviously, that's fine.
Well, I try, but you know what? I know what I am.
All right. So I need some M3x6.
M3x6s.
And that tells you which bag there.
That's right. So we've got this one, M3x6. We're looking at button heads. So we're looking for bag number 6. It's like a chocolate, isn't it?
Yep.
Bag number 6. Bingo.
So you need 8 of them, I'd say.
There's 4. That'll do one end.
Just check the instructions for the front bulkhead. I think they're the same.
Yep, I need 8 of those screws. Yep, front and rear is definitely the same.
So don't do these up tight until you get all 4 in.
And that's really good practice for anything that you're
Yep,
doing up.
that's
like
right.
across a big area or a gap or, you know, two
Yep.
sides of the car.
'Cause
Because you want it to marry up nice and neat.
Yep. And one of the things about touring cars too is it's really important that I guess suspension travel, everything's in such small increments. There's only so much suspension travel.
Tenths of millimetres
That's right.
that these cars are adjusted to.
So it's really important that you build it as square as you can. All right. So you can rock this.
Yep.
You can rock and if you don't push them down evenly when you're actually doing screws up, you can actually get wheels and tyres, because if everything's built so precisely,
Yeah.
sitting at different heights by the time you
By
actually
the
put it on
time
the
it's
track.
yeah. And
So-
these are some of the things when you do a rebuild or if you have a big accident that it's important to double check. Because all these little tenths of millimetres, doesn't sound much, but they do.
They add up.
They definitely add up.
Yep.
And that's why you buy a precision product.
That's right.
You know, when we're not working on a TTO1,
No.
you know, this is a precision product. It's made to go fast.
Correct.
And it does it very well from all accords.
I'm impressed so far.
And that's saying something, because I've heard you're hard to impress.
Oh, well, yeah.
My mate Simon reckons it's near impossible. So the fact that you're impressed says a lot.
Yeah.
Just promise me that you call out lapping.
Oh, well,
Hey?
I can manage that. That's fine.
Yeah,
Yes.
just you have to go past him. Dapping, that's...
Even if I'm not,
That's
no,
right, even if you're just coming out the pits.
That's right.
Or yeah, warm-up lap.
Lapping. Warm up lap.
That's right, you're going to have a joke. You're going to have fun.
Yep. I'll make sure I stand next to you on the stand as well. That'd be great. So again, just nip them up. You can see there's a little bit of play. So you want them in the same position on both sides.
You want them in the same position,
so
yep.
I pull them together against the bulkhead.
Yep.
So I think we can see.
Squeezing it in.
Squeeze them together. And nip them up.
There we have it.
This driver's really in good nick, mate.
I should hope so. It's brand new.
Brand
I
spanker.
thought, well, new build, it's always good to have a new tip.
Yep.
I don't care who you are. I don't care whether it's a
New
$12 tip or a $6 tip.
New
It's
tips are
really
fantastic.
nice to have when you're doing a new build, new screws, new car, like new tips and new
Yeah,
tools.
and look, especially when you're nipping things up, if you've got a tip that's got a bit of damage to it, you can actually take the edge out of the
That's right,
out of the screws.
the new screw.
That's right.
So it's
So it's-
really good. It's really
Yeah.
cheap. Really cheap insurance.
Yep.
Like when you're building a really expensive kit or whatever, and it's part of the hobby.
Yes.
You know, and having good tools makes your life sort
just
of
easy.
easier. And if you take pride in your build, definitely. If you're doing a new kit, new tips,
Yep.
and they're all available from Aromax and everything.
Yep. So the other thing to check once your bulkheads are in
Yep.
is actually that there's a tiny bit of float in both the diff and the spool. So
Yep.
when I say float, you can actually just feel it push
Yep.
left to right, just a tad, right? And that lets you know that there's no nothing captured or nothing rubbing.
Yep.
So you can feel a tiny bit of float
Yep.
there, and there's a little bit more float at the front there.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's you're really not going to feel that until the shock tower's on, because that's really marrying it up at the back, isn't it?
Correct.
The front
that squares it up.
independent.
Yep. So, I mean, at this point too, there's an option part you can actually add to the front
The
bulkhead.
brace?
The brace.
This is just over there, I think.
We could put that on there.
Yeah, why
so
not?
we've got the Noah. Much to his credit, drives a lot like me.
Yep.
It doesn't crash.
Doesn't crash.
Doesn't crash. But he likes a very direct car too.
Yeah.
Just like me. So this just offers, I think, a little bit more from that point of view. So that we maybe should have done that before we.
I haven't had the pleasure of driving a BD11 yet,
No.
but I know in former cars that I've had with those little braces, I've always been a huge fan.
Yep.
And like you said, it just adds a little bit more feel. Doesn't necessarily make the car faster or slower,
No.
but does give a little bit more feel. And I can see where they've put it. And maybe on a bumpy track or really low traction, you would want to take it off.
Correct.
But it's a really good, quick little tuning option.
Correct.
Like it's 2 screws
Yep.
in and out. So
All right. So that's the tuning option. What was it? That was the
B11-003 SP
Yep.
or 003 SP.
And it's another matte part.
That's another matte part. See,
Yep.
matte graphite.
Might have to change my last name.
Excuse me. All right. So we've got the shock towers on. We've got the drive line in the car. We've got the motor mount on. I think it might be time to call episode 2 right here.
Yep.
As before we go any further. So episode 1 was obviously the spool, the spur gear assembly and the diffs. Episode 2's been about attaching it all to the chassis.
Yep.
So again, like I said, we're starting from the center and working our way out, which is really common with a lot of RC builds. Yokomo's no different. So we've got the center of the car on, and now I bet we're going to start working our way out. So yeah, that's really good. That is episode 2 in the bag.
Fantastic.
Matthew Jenkins has been here, a superstar. Putting together Noah's BD11. I hope you guys are enjoying the build. I'm Brett from Hearns, and this is Matthew Jenkins, and thanks for watching.
Thanks a lot.